Welcome to Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy.
I'm Christy, and we're recapping Michelle's season of The Bachelorette.
Did y'all miss us? We've been gone for a week. Oh no, so sad. Ugh, Christy, it was really great for me to have a week off. How was it for you?
I have to say it was a much needed rest. we had a busy week, but class is back in session.
Oh, it's been the Bachelor Nation has just been churning lately. So, it was good to have a little R&R.
Yes, but time to resume.
Ugh. Okay. Yes, we're back here for, if I'm not mistaken, this is season 18 of The Bachelorette with Michelle Young.
I think that's her last name, yeah. They never really say it very much, but...
Yes, Michelle Young, the teacher from Minnesota. I will not make any of your ears bleed with my terrible Minnesota accent.
Yeah, let's save that.
Wow, thank you for the vote of confidence.
No, I'm sure it's great. Just, we don't need to do that.
I'll just cut this out later. So, what's been going on in Bachelor Nation since we last spoke to these fine people?
Not a ton. I mean, all the Paradise couples are still together and madly in love. So
of course.
They've been posting a lot on social media, but other than that, not. I mean, they're filming the next Bachelor season with Clayton right now, so there's like spoilers floating around for that.
Well, and not to mention the spoiler of like that he's, currently in this season that we're starting now.
Yeah, it is a bit strange. Like every time he comes on screen, I'm like, oh.
Well, don't really care. He'll be gone shortly.
Yeah, I don't know how long he lasts or anything, but it should be interesting to see his exit.
Yes, will he go away soon? Hard to say. I will say, however, that as is the usual case, these first episodes are just sort of, like there's just there's so much going on that there's nothing going on.
Yeah, they're very chaotic, but we only learn a little bit about a really small number of guys.
True, because do you have the numbers for us as far as how many? Because she started with 30. How many did she eliminate this episode?
It's weird. Like the last couple of seasons, they've been showing like 2 or 3 that get eliminated the first night, but then they don't show her saying goodbye to the rest. So, I mean, I could count how many roses she gave out, but I don't know exactly how many got eliminated.
Okay. Huh. Do you like this larger number, or do you think that it takes away from just the overall flow of the show?
Yeah, I think it should be back to 25 like it used to in earlier seasons. Like, we don't really need 30 or past 30 as they've done before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it as sort of ridiculous as the premise is of dating a bajillion people at the same time, I do think that once you get past a certain point, it becomes more of a hindrance than an actual help to the objective of the show. Because you just, at that point, you just have so many people that it's like, well, what are you really supposed to do here?
Yeah, it's just more chaos, which they love.
Yeah, so here, Well, is there anything we particularly care about before getting to the Ryan drama?
No, you mean from the intro packages?
Correct.
No, the rest of them were just like, oh, I live here. My mom's a teacher. uh, nothing too, nothing too crazy until you got to Ryan.
Okay, because I did want to talk about that obviously about it in general, but also in the context of Bachelor Nation as a whole as well. So, in case people don't know, why don't you go ahead and explain what actually happened here?
So this is something I haven't seen before, but Caitlyn and Tayshia showed up to the guys' rooms, I guess, a day or two before the first night and decided to just rummage through their stuff. Which I think the only reason they did that is because producers knew Ryan, who's a farmer, had a folder or multiple folders that contained like essentially a game plan, a list of strategies and notes and info about Michelle and previous seasons of The Bachelor and like how not to be a villain and things you should say, which is just so stupid that he brought it with him. Like, I can understand having this sort of folder at home, but I don't understand the thought process of, well, let me bring it onto the show. And it just makes you seem fake.
So I guess the question there is then, do you think that he was fake? Like, do you think that he was potentially like a producer plant? That he
No.
You don't. Okay.
No, I think he is an actual legit like wanted to be there. I just think he got caught up in like winning the game essentially, like making it as far as he can and didn't. The other thing is that before the pandemic hit, the Bachelor did this like live on stage production thing where they would go city to city and each city would have like a bachelor, like in quotes, there'd be like a few other women invited on stage and they would do like these makeshift dates on stage, and at the end he would pick a person. So it was like a mini Bachelor season contained in like one evening, and there's a big audience and everything. So Ryan was one of those bachelors.
Okay.
So when he's insinuating like, oh, I've never seen the show, I don't know how anything works, that just doesn't seem believable.
Correct.
It's like you were the actual bachelor, and if you did that, I would assume you don't sign up for something like that without knowing anything about the show.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just questioning how much influence the producers had here.
Well, do you mean like if they told him to bring the folder?
Well, if they told him to bring the folder, with the fact that Tayshia and Caitlyn just happened to go through his stuff and find it. I don't. It just seemed like
yeah, that part was definitely staged. Like the fact because they don't ever do visits like that. So the whole point of the visit segment was just so they could happen to find this folder, which producers clearly knew was there.
Yeah, so I guess what my overall question here is for you, is this too much? Meaning, is this sort of stuff that does, at least at some level, again, whether like they straight up told him to bring it, whether they knew he was gonna bring it, and so they sent their hosts to find it, whether he was just a plant in general, which you don't seem to think is the case. But regardless of that, like, do you think that is is too much from the perspective of, okay, yeah, this is a reality TV show, of course, but do you think that stuff actually adds to the show, or is it just all this stuff that's like pulling focus from the actual thing and just kind of detracting from the overall show? Because sometimes, to me at least, it seems like, and this isn't the only case, but it's the most recent case, where it just seems like there's so much stuff pulled, like strings pulled from behind the scenes, that it ends up being a bit kind of grating, because it's like, I know this is a reality TV show, so like, yeah, like it's not like real, but it just feels a bit excessive to me sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. I think a lot of things on this show are staged that you probably don't realize. So to me, it doesn't feel like out of left field or like an extra thing. And it also just kind of adds humor to the episodes. Maybe because I've watched for so long, like stuff like that is kind of like, oh, something different, even if it's clearly like planted by the producers. I don't know. I don't mind it because if it's funny, like I don't mind it.
Okay. Be interested to know what the general consensus out there in Bachelor Nation viewers is, because yeah, it's kind of, for me, it's like why even go through this? Like,
it's just drama. Plus, they need like those shots for the previews of like something drastic happening, so people need to tune in.
I'm not a fan, Christy. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I found it entertaining, at least this time. Not all of the planned bits land for me, but this one did.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll let it slide then. This time. Well, is there anything that you wish to go over as far as entrances go?
Well, first off, I like the location they're at. I like
Okay.
when they take a break from the Bachelor Mansion.
Where are they?
I think
Help
they're
me.
still in LA somewhere, or California. I don't know exactly.
Okay.
As far as limo arrivals, some of them stood out. The first one was pretty good with Nate, which I didn't realize Nate wasn't his actual name, and I certainly did not catch his actual name.
Unbelievable.
It was extremely long, so his friends call him Nate. And he also says, "Better Nate than never." Everybody has to have a clever line.
What you say clever, but was that actually clever?
It's the best he could do.
Oh, okay.
Next was Romeo.
Who names their child Romeo?
He says our love story won't end in tragedy. But that's pretty bold to say. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, particularly given, and I don't want to assume that everyone just automatically knows this, even though it is pretty common knowledge. But Romeo and Juliet is a Shakespearean play, and Romeo and Juliet are both very young people, and basically for no reason end up killing themselves.
Romantic.
Because they're so in love. And there was a miscommunication. So, perhaps that's not the best analogy to make. Even if you're like, oh, but ours won't end in tragedy. Ugh. So irritating.
He can't help the fact that he was named Romeo.
Look, if my parents had the ill judgment to name me Romeo, I would have changed it legally as soon as was possible.
Fair enough. Next is Jack. The only thing I remember about him is that he arrived in a waiter uniform.
Look, it wasn't a waiter uniform. It was just a very classy white tux, okay?
I mean, he looked like a waiter to me.
Wow, Christy, that is a little offensive.
I also don't like white tuxes, so.
Wow, that is so brave.
Clayton, the bachelor, shows up.
Wait.
And
yeah. That's right.
He brought a giant ruler in case he needs discipline. And as the internet pointed out, this is slightly outdated.
Yes, at this point in time, most schools have discontinued corporal punishment in their classrooms.
Yes, I still found it funny though. She didn't really spank him very hard.
It was literally the worst spank of all time. Okay?
Yeah, but.
And I maybe shouldn't say this, but I got way worse spankings from my parents.
Oh, yeah, same here. This was nothing.
Yeah. I don't know. There wasn't. I mean, I guess they're really they're trying to lean into like, see, we're on the right side of history, bringing in a lot of Black people, a lot of like Hispanic people, and just all sorts of POC here. We're trying to change.
They're trying to make up for lost time. When you had seasons where there were 0 people of color.
Look, Christy, okay, Black people only make up about 12% of the U.S. population, okay? You can't blame them if they couldn't find anybody who was qualified, okay?
No, of course not. We can only have the best Black people cast on the show.
Of course, yes. Ugh,
but now they have found the best.
Yes, finally.
We had a montage of just cheesy lines and somebody speaking in Spanish. That dress was just fabric until you brought it to life. A couple of people I didn't write anything down for because they didn't.
Yeah, I mean there was just like a lot of stupid stuff. Like you know, like the guy who's like basically like wearing a kid's school uniform, like the navy blue like shorts, whatever, and like the
that one was funny.
It was also a little creepy.
He says he might give her a D and then like pauses and then he's like, oh, but it stands for diamond.
It's like absolutely terrible innuendo. It's just like
it was pretty lame.
If you're gonna make innuendo, at least like have it not be lame. Come on.
Yeah, we had somebody who broke his foot, and then we had LT, who was 38 years old, who arrived in a suit jacket on top and nothing but a Speedo at the bottom.
Well, and it was also like a tux Speedo.
Oh, yeah, it was not big enough.
You're like, I didn't know that. I tried not to look at it.
I didn't notice if it said anything on it.
Well, no, it didn't say anything. It was like a tuxedo pattern. You know how you can like get like a tuxedo like T-shirt?
Yeah, it was black and white.
It was like that.
Yes, but it was too small and I didn't like it. The next memorable one is Rick, who arrives with his head under a platter. He's like in a a box table
Oh yeah, just like on
setup.
like a rolling serving table essentially.
Yeah, and then when Michelle takes the platter off, she like almost slams it down on his head, which I would have been tempted to
She
do.
should have just been like, get out of here.
I know it
This
was.
is lame.
I didn't like it. He looked decapitated. It was just like this floating head that's talking. It was very creepy to me.
So you didn't like the lettuce around his decapitated head. You thought it was creepy.
Well, it wasn't the lettuce. It was just the fact that it was just the head floating.
I see. I mean, it kind of, in my opinion, it's sort of just like a lame gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, he stayed in the box the whole
Yeah,
night.
it's kind of like the James in the box thing. It's like, oh wow, so original, great job. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But then, dun dun dun, the worst man of them all arrives. Our schemer, our note man, Ryan, in his ice cream truck.
Yeah, I thought that was a random gimmick considering he's a farmer.
No, it's not, because he knows she likes ice cream, Christy. It's all part of his plan.
Well, he went to a lot of trouble.
His evil plan. Did he, though? Or did the producers just be like, here's an ice cream truck?
Well, yes. He did not procure that. Looking at you makes my heart melt. I wonder, is that one of the lines in his folder?
Probably. I'm sure it is. Ugh.
We also had Rodney, who arrived dressed as an apple.
Okay, I'm very glad she addressed this later. I was just watched this and I was like, you are such an idiot, because he's literally, it's not even a great apple costume either.
No,
but he's just like basically his shirt is not a shirt; it's like an apple. But Michelle is talking to him and she's like, what kind of apple are you? And he's like, Granny Smith. And it's just like, dude, you are wearing a red apple costume. Granny Smiths are like the most famous, if not the only, green variety of apple.
I know. How do you manage to pick the one that wouldn't work? I mean, there's so many other, like Honeycrisp, Red Delicious. There's so many that would have worked. Even like Golden Delicious.
I was like, dude, come on.
Fuji.
What is it? Gala apple?
Yes.
That's it? Yeah. Like,
yep.
These are not obscure varieties of apples. These are like, you walk by them in the grocery store every time you go in there.
Oh, that was pretty funny.
Oh, man. Ugh. So this next guy, Peter, I guess his name was, listed as a pizzapreneur.
Does he own a pizza place?
I mean, I guess.
I mean, he wasted some pizza dough, like threw it up in the air and left it on the ground.
Yeah, he literally like did the pizza dough spin like you'd see a chef do, and he just like didn't even bother to catch it and just kept walking. So wasteful. I would never do such a thing. Though.
Then we had Daniel, who apparently is a firefighter, but he rode up in a child's fire truck.
Yeah, with all the little, like, the beeping and, like, the toy noises and stuff.
Yes, it looked very silly because he's, like, 3 times the size of the truck.
Yeah, I mean, he's a normal-sized man.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I think my fire truck was the best.
Yeah, except, PJ then immediately arrives afterwards.
On an actual fire truck.
With sirens blaring.
Yes, it was a very funny sequence. Then they He's like standing next to all the other guys, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a firefighter."
It's like, yeah, I came in a toy truck. Talk about unfortunate. Oh, yeah, that was pretty funny. Definitely lost the battle of the fire trucks there.
Yeah. Brandon J gets pushed in on a bed for no good reason.
Well, I mean, it's a good reason, obviously. He wants to be in bed with her, Christy. Duh. Come on. It's so obvious.
This one didn't land for me.
I'm so surprised.
Spencer arrives bouncing 2 basketballs.
So talented.
The rest of them weren't very memorable until you got to Joe, who was the last one they showed. And they already kind of know each other. Apparently she had like been messaging him and he ghosted her.
So, I know your answer is just going to be they like to create drama. But I'm still going to ask this question, all right? Why do they keep doing this? Clearly, the producers know about this. Like, their only rule is don't talk to people outside the show. So why do they just intentionally bring in somebody she's talked to before the show?
Well, so I feel like that rule is generally like from contestant to contestant, but I'm guessing when she was chatting with him, this was before she was like announced as the Bachelorette, maybe. I don't know when this happened. But it seems unlikely to me that they've said she's the Bachelorette and then she's trying to get with some guy in her DMs.
I mean, has it not happened before?
Yeah, Michelle didn't seem like the type to do that. Plus, with the stuff he mentioned later, like using George Floyd as his excuse for not messaging her back.
It was just a really stressful time in America for black people that I just didn't have the bandwidth to get back to you.
Yeah, so like that was in 2020. So I'm guessing this happened last year.
But wasn't she... I don't know. I can't stand the producers sometimes.
Yeah, they like drama.
Anyways, I guess we got to get back to the actual episode. We sort of finally started the episode in a lot of ways here when she finally got to start having conversations with these people.
Yeah, she enters the room and, does the standard Bachelorette beginning speech, start of important journey, excited, be authentic, all that stuff. And then I guess pretty immediately she does chat with Joe, and that's when he gives that excuse. And like she pointed out, he doesn't have to be ready for a relationship at that point. He just needed to like message her back.
I love too. She's like, I mean, like, I was in Minnesota too, and I was like, teaching all these black kids. Like, it was a bit.
Yeah, it was hard for everyone.
It was a bit of a time for me too, because he was. I think what he was saying wasn't he was that he like owns a business that was like on that street or something.
I missed that.
I think that's what he was saying. He was like, because they rename like that area like George Floyd Square or something.
That sounds right.
I think he was saying he like owned a business there, which I don't know necessarily how that makes it really that much worse for him, but I don't know.
Yeah, so she tells him she needs to think. So he's left in limbo.
Dun, dun, dun.
So eventually she chats with Rick.
Just get out of the freaking table.
I know. She like feeds him a strawberry and then finally he gets out.
I just cannot wait for him to leave.
Did you feel like he was like really intense when he was talking to her? It was very strange.
I don't know what to tell you.
He just made me uncomfortable.
You don't like it when people show up to you inside rolling tables with their head in a serving platter?
I would have sent him rolling back when he showed up.
Huh. Yeah, I mean,
along with the guy with the Speedo.
You're like, I do not accept people who wear underwear like that in public. Get out.
Yeah, there's some people just with limo entrances. I don't need to see anymore.
Well, I mean, you did see most of it, so. Yeah, and then of course, I was so glad that Michelle did this with Rodney being like, Granny Smiths are like the only apple that's green.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, wow, you really know your apples. It's like, come on, man. How do you not know this?
Yes, that was a necessary correction. I missed that he said Granny Smith actually.
Yes, he did.
But you noticed.
I mean, I was complaining about it the whole episode.
Yeah.
Every time I saw him, I was like, really? Look, maybe we should just give him some grace. Maybe he grew up in a food desert and never had seen an apple before. But
Maybe.
I feel like that should kind of be fairly common knowledge.
Yeah.
And then ice cream truck man again.
Yes, Ryan takes her out, and I have to say his hair is way too poofy at the top.
It was a little poofy. You are correct.
So yeah, there wasn't much there because we're really building to this point where
Oh yeah, the confrontation.
yes, TK interrupts and informs Michelle about Ryan's folder, which why didn't they tell her before? They kind of waited a while.
I think you know the answer to that.
Well,
Christy.
yes.
Drama.
So Ryan is super confident and cocky through all this. So she grabs Ryan, tells him about the notes, then he gives this whole spiel of
I just couldn't. I could not get over this whole thing. How. I feel like if you're gonna be in that situation, you gotta also have a contingency plan for if you get caught.
Yes, why wasn't that in the notes?
Well, I mean, he should have had that in his brain. Because, the whole thing about how he was trying to explain himself, and he was like, yeah, I don't really, I am who I am, and, these notes were written by this wife of a friend of mine, and blah, 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 and then he, moments later contradicts himself, saying that, he wrote it, and so Michelle is like, I thought you didn't wrote it, or I thought you didn't write it, and he's like, well, I wrote some, they may have written a couple paragraphs.
Yeah, and then Michelle, who was straight to the point, she's like, let me see these notes. And they walk to his room. This was being led to the principal's office.
She should have spanked him.
I know, right? He has to unzip his suitcase. This is so embarrassing for him. And brings out the folders and he's like, there's not anything to find. And she's like, I'll be the judge of that. So
well, he's so awkward, and finally he's just like, I'll wait outside. It's just basically like, yeah, you should do that.
Yeah, then she like spends a good chunk of time like reading through the stuff, and like they name drop some people, like they name drop Ben Higgins, who was the Bachelor a few years back, and Blake Horseman, Jason Tardik, who were on a season together. It's just weird. He had all these like names and things to do, and so she is not happy.
Yeah, you gotta look. You gotta be like me. Keep all your schemes in your brain. No paper trail.
I know, what an idiot. And so she like walks out to him and is like, I'm not okay with starting with a red flag, and she will be walking him out.
You're out of here.
And he like tries. He's like, is there anything I can do to change your mind?
Oh, he said that what, like 3 times?
I know. She's like, again, I need to walk you out.
Oh, is there anything I can do to change your mind? You're leaving.
And then they show him like sitting outside on this like random suitcase. It's so sad.
He did not do very well.
No.
Oh, well, he's gone.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
she has to tell the group that he had a lot of red flags, and
she's like, don't mess with me, guys. I will lock you out. Oh, that is.
So then we had a conversation with Nate, who was the first guy out of the limo. And she... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with how he played this conversation.
How so?
Well, if I remember correctly, it was just like a lot of talking about how his parents were divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, because it wasn't just that his parents got divorced, but then his mom remarried and then got divorced a second time. Which,
yeah,
of course, like, stuff happens, but at the same time, it's a little strange to, like, lead with that.
well, I think he was trying to say, like, oh, I don't want to tell you too much about me because of, like, all the stuff that's happened in the past. And she's like, no, you should still open up, be vulnerable, all that.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. That might be a slight red flag to me.
The fact that he talks about it so much.
Well, yeah, and just having so many divorces in your family tree.
Well, he can't help that.
I know divorce isn't contagious. But I feel like there may be some sort of correlation to increased divorce risk. The more divorces your parents have, I don't know. It was just weird.
Yeah, he could have talked about, like, work or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And maybe it's just a good thing that he led it with that. But I feel like, you're on a first date with somebody. Maybe don't lead with the fact that, like, you have 7 sets of parents.
Yeah, normally that would be like a group date convo or one-on-one or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully he can overcome and find a way to be vulnerable. As vulnerable as she needs him to be. You gotta be vulnerable here, Christy.
Mm-hmm. It's the only way this will work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta trust the process. And part of the process is learning to be vulnerable.
So eventually, at some point, Caitlin brings in the first impression rose.
Dun, dun, dun.
And eventually, after some more combos with other guys, Michelle makes her way back to Nate while everybody is watching and grabs Nate while she's holding the rose, and everyone watches them walk away.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so he gets the rose.
I just want to say here, before he got the first impression rose, they're having this conversation, and she's like, I just really enjoy talking to you. There are no awkward moments.
Was that him?
I'm pretty sure it was in this conversation, wasn't it?
I thought that was somebody else, like in the montage.
Am I insane?
No, I remember hearing that.
No, I know it happened. I just wrote down that it was with Nate, but there are also so many people here that I could be completely wrong. I thought it was him. Anyways, whoever it was, it's just like this is the first conversation you've ever had with this man. Why are we going off of no awkward moments? Like, good for you. You've spoken for 2 minutes and haven't had an awkward moment. Congratulations.
I think it was just I don't know what else to say kind of thing.
Huh. Well.
Because, like, it's nerve-wracking for everybody, so.
Oh, wow. You just have to be so compassionate, Christy. So understanding.
I'm not always like that.
Just I have to be the mean one of the podcast. The mean co-host.
No, I trashed somebody's suit earlier.
Well, yeah, and you you toned it down from during the watching. You were very mean then. Yes, Christy tones down her meanness for the official recordings.
Hey, I don't want us to lose everybody.
Just so everyone knows, she's like, I'm going to keep my real mean hot takes to myself in more private, and then I'll let Sampy be the mean one officially.
I don't know. I feel like we both toned it down.
I would never. I'm terribly mean. So it looks like she eliminated 10. Or 9 or 8.
Yeah, maybe like 8 or 9. It looks like. But yeah, I did not. There were like 3 people she showed that she hugged, and we didn't see the rest.
Yeah, see, and that I think this just goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, why are you gonna have 30 people if she's barely gonna have time to talk to any of them, and you're literally just eliminating a bunch of people for the sake of eliminating a bunch of people? Because it's not like, if there are only 25 people, she would probably only eliminate 4 or 5 that first night, right? Like, you're not gonna still like, it's not like a ton more people are making it much further into the season anyway. So it's like, what's the point?
I think they just need people to eliminate. I think the norm now is to have more than 25. Because this show actually used to be a little shorter back in the day. Or they would get down to a smaller number of people quickly.
Ugh. Why can't we just go back to the good old days, Christy?
Oh, those days are gone.
Now we're just stuck in this sucky present.
Yes, and I also want to say Joe got the last rose.
Mm-hmm. Despite her concerns about his ability to be vulnerable and the fact that he ghosted her.
Yeah, I guess she'll give him another chance.
Dun dun dun. Man. Well, we're back in it, Christy.
Yep, episode 1 down.
Only like 10 or 11 left for this season. It's very scary.
The preview looks good. I think it'll be a good season.
Well, first of all, I mean, I do like Michelle.
Me too.
So hopefully that helps. I mean, it is kind of annoying to me that, like, they just, and of course this is TV, so they gotta pick something, but, like, they're just so, like, oh, this is Michelle. She's super beautiful, but she's also super athletic, so nobody cared about her. And then they're, like, presumably gonna make so much of the season about the fact that, like, she plays basketball. Like, you saw, like, in all those, like, guy intros, you know, they'd be like, "Hi, Michelle. Swish. See, I could play b-ball too."
I mean, they always do that with the Bachelorettes, though. Like, whatever thing they're known for gets driven into the ground.
Yeah.
But she's got two things, the teacher and the basketball.
So we'll be equally divided.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some sort of classroom group date coming up, so that should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know did we actually talk about the segment at the beginning in her classroom?
No, I think we skipped it.
Yeah, they're gonna go to great lengths to include basketball and teaching in this season.
Yep.
The other thing I was going to say was, I believe next week will be our 30th episode.
Oh.
Yes, so we have surpassed everyone's expectations. So, Christy, we kind of have a little bit of a lame start as far as the kiss counter goes. On record, I have 1 for this episode.
Yep, just Nate.
I'm sure that we will continue, and this count will rapidly rise starting next episode. But beyond that, how can the fine people of the world reach us?
You can email us at groupdatespod@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at groupdatespodcast.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Yes, I will say I'm probably looking forward to this season a little bit more than I was looking forward to Katie's season.
Yeah, for sure.
Just overall, I was glad to have a week off. Hopefully, we have recovered enough to do a great job recapping this season of The Bachelorette. This has been Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Zampy.
And I'm Christy. We'll talk to you next week.